other other parts of the country. So when they're doing their news broadcast, for example, they might have 3 or 4 other studios that they cut to during the news broadcast, but only one lighting operator, and he does everything from his just from the Auckland office. So they do it a little bit differently in the way they've really kind of simplified their setup, but all of that sort of stuff is possible. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
For the safe system, because the system setting just now that we talk about the safe, if we save the show, you means we save the pack show and then we transfer to another console. But the console have to be Neo console or whatever console we can, or how?
No, yeah, it would need to be another Neo console. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But unfortunately, every manufacturer keeps their information very proprietary, so it's not easy to easy to create something that other consoles can load. So yeah.
Right. Thank you.
No worries.
About the visualizer, so normally we will once we enable the visualizer, but actually we need to have the software and then connect to our console, is it?
So in the case, so there's a couple of ways really in which people deal with visualizers. Most visualizers can receive ArtNet and streaming ACN data. So you can do a visualizer just by sending ArtNet, for example. That's kind of like the simplest way to do it. With this system, what I'm referring to here is a direct communication with the visualizer. So if you, as soon as you turn this on in Neo, if you have the visualizer running like on another PC, as long as it's on the same network, then it will connect to it automatically. You don't need to really do anything. That connection will just be established in the background. There's a whole negotiation protocol that goes on between the products. So interestingly enough, the way it's sort of done, so Capture themselves actually came up with this very good protocol for visualizers, for the way visualizers talk to each other. But annoyingly, WYSIWYG didn't actually implement the system. So we actually wrote essentially a WYSIWYG driver that gives all the functionality that Capture sort of gives us. So it was a bit of a pain that we had to do that ourselves, but it all kind of talks over the same protocol.
Yep. Okay. I have another question.
Yeah.
Yep. Because last few weeks we setting another Neo console in a studio in our KL, and then we have a 2 touch screen, and then our touch screen is the ViewSonic. The brand is the ViewSonic. So how do we define which one is the first screen and then another one will be the second screen? Is it will automatically do that?
Well, Windows will, so this is all based on Windows 7 embedded, and Windows will obviously assign that when you first start up. But if you go under the More menu here, you can go to Control Panel. And this is an external application, so this is not part of Neo, this window you're seeing here. And under System, Set Screen Resolution, okay, sorry, this is actually running on Windows 10, but so it will look slightly different on Neo because it's Windows 7 embedded. We will probably move to Windows 10. In fact, the new Neo Compact is actually Windows 10 based. So we'll be moving to that. So that's number one. You can then define which is the primary monitor and which is the secondary, and move them around. Then what you probably need to do is what we call the touchscreen calibration.
Yes.
So we'll need to go and run that, and use the setup option here to actually then redefine the touch points. But it's pretty simple.
Yeah, because
yeah.
Previously, once we set up the touch screen, but sometimes, okay, let's say I have these two touch screen where I touch
Yes.
this screen, but the
Yes.
point we do is on this screen.
Yeah. That's that calibration thing, and it's, you know, it's something that's not overly obvious, to be honest with you. It's always been annoyed me a little bit. Because,
Okay.
well, what's confusing about it is they
Ah.
have this calibrate button down here, so it's not
Oh,
going to.
okay.
So is it this one? I'm just trying to think. I don't think I have it. No, because I don't have a touch. Nothing's a touch screen on here. So people
Okay, I
think you have to
understand.
click on this calibrate button, but it's not that one. It's this one up here where you have to do the setup. And so people often get that confused and get that round the wrong way. So that's the one that does what you're talking about.
Okay, understand.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize downstairs still have another option to choose.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay, great. So, so we've sort of covered off the system properties. As you can see, there's a lot of options in there, lots of things to change and configure the software. We've tried to, oh, one more thing actually that I did forget to mention is this big switch down the bottom here. It's currently in what we call advanced mode. And if I switch to that there, first off, it's warning me that if I switch to basic mode, it is going to set a whole heap of options back to their default settings. So if I've gone and messed around with the options and set things up how I like, switching to basic mode will wipe all those changes. But you'll see that in basic mode, you get a lot fewer options available to you. There's really just basic settings and registration. So it's a real confined subset of setup options. And this is the mode that I was telling you about. When you're in basic mode, if you save a show template, so if you save a show as a template in the system, then, and it's running in basic mode, then it won't let a user create a blank show. So that can be really useful thing to sort of confine the users down to, so they can't mess things up so much. Excellent. So that's switching being basic and advanced mode. All right. Okay, the next thing to move on to, I think, before it feels a bit strange how we haven't really touched this main interface yet, because the next thing really worth talking about is patching. We might as well just sort of jump to patch straight away so that we actually can start working with the fixtures that we want to work with. So if we click on the patch button down here, or the patch button on the console itself, or F7 on your keyboard, we get our patch screen. There are 3 sections to this. The left-hand, well, 4 I suppose, because if you include the command line down the bottom. At the left-hand section here is our list of desk channels, so that is fixtures in the software. The top right is the actual universes of DMX output, and then down the bottom right section is our list of fixtures. So we're going to go ahead and start patching a few fixtures, and the easiest way to do this, we could, if we wanted to, navigate this you know, this tree structure here. We can go down and we could find, you know, where are we? Very light. Oh, look at them all. Very light, find our fixture that we want. But the easier way to do that is if we actually just click in this fixture make and model, or press in there on the touch screen, we can just actually type any part of a name. So for example, I could say, I know it's a 3000 spot, and it will now give me a list of anything that's actually got that in there. So it doesn't have to be the beginning of a name. So, you know, I can certainly type in VL4000, for example, but if I don't know the full name, if I only know sort of a partial name on it, you know it's a beam wash, for example. I can type in beam wash, and oh yeah, there it is. There's my beam wash. And so then you can use the arrow keys, or you can just click on it and select it, that will find it. So now we've found the fixture that we want. And now from our command line, we can say, okay, we've got, say, 8 of those. So I'm going to say 1 through 8, and I'm going to put them in universe 2, 2.1. So that's our command syntax, which is, you know, pretty much what we would be used to. And enter, and now we've got 8 beam washers patched. There is a way to do this also with the mouse. So for example, if I say 3,000 spots, for example, we can set our quantity. We say, so we've got 4 of those. Go into, say, universe 3 there. I can just, using my mouse, I can click, I can move my mouse over the first channel that I want to patch them to. Holding the mouse down, I can then drag and actually just drop them on there, and that will patch them. So that's what we call drag and drop patching. So one of the really useful things is that when something is patched, this top right-hand panel tells us exactly the footprint of the fixture. So we can see exactly, so we can see that at DMX address 25 is going to be focus for that fixture. So it's a really useful way to sort of debug a fixture and figure out what's going on. If we want to unpatch a fixture from the command line, so if I want to take out, make a gap there at channel 9, so I can just go 9 at enter, and that will clear that out. And there, and what I might do is I'll make another gap at 14, just so that we've got a couple of gaps in the patch there. Now, if I just make this panel a little bit bigger so we can see more information, there's actually, you'll notice, a lot of columns in the patch. So what I've sort of shown you, that's your kind of basic operation. That's the sort of thing you're going to do all the time if you want to patch fixtures. And if I go back to live, it asks me, do I want to save my changes? Yes. Now I have all these fixtures that are patched. So that's kind of like really basic, really simple kind of stuff. If we just go back into patch now, there are a lot of extra fields that we can assign with every single channel. And the first one is our pan and tilt adjustment. So this allows me to do things like flip, pan, and tilt, do various things there. We can actually also do that from the command line. So if I go channel 3, and I press the position button, whoops. Channel 3, is my console disconnected from me? No. Nope. Oh yeah, there we go. If I press the position button, I can actually cycle through the various options there. So I can flip, pan, and tilt from the command line as well. The profile, this defines, dimmer profiles. We don't need to go into that. I mean, these days we don't typically need to adjust that too much. A new feature that was in the last version we released is what's called patch defaults. So this allows me to go in and actually define a new default for a particular attribute on that channel. So again, we can come back to if we want to see more details about that, but you can actually, so obviously every attribute has a default in there as set by the fixture profile. This allows me to make small adjustments and things like that to those defaults. Auxiliary dimmer, this column here is if you're working with the likes of the older VL5s, or say something like a dimmer that has a color scroller. Again, this is stuff that we don't generally deal too much with these days, luckily. The auxiliary dimmer allows you to assign essentially the intensity to another DMX address if you want to. Relay is a brand new field that's coming out in the next version. This allows you to define a relay number